Good evening, everybody. My name is Bill Warner, and I'm with EntreDot. And this is a Facebook Live program, and it's going to be all about the importance of company culture. I hope you know what that means. The reason this is at all important is that a company has to have a heart, something that ties them together as a team, something that causes predictable reactions in the interaction people have with one another. It's what they're all about. I probably could find many more words to describe it as well, but it really comes from one place. Where do you think that might be? It's the CEO of the company. It's the leader of the company, by whatever title that person has, president, CEO, grand poobah, whatever. The culture of the company comes from him or her by their very demeanor and what they hold as important. And they get that across every single day, every hour of every day, to the people within the company. And it grows from there. As soon as a company has two people or more, a company culture has been born. Because every employee that reports to that CEO, that leader, now follows him or her in whatever they do, whatever they say, however they act, whatever example that person sets for the people inside the company. The rest sets the culture. It's what everyone will emulate. And in their participation within the company, they are going to do and act like whatever the leader says and does. The leader sets the example, sets the scene for all of what happens in the company. So that's where culture comes from. So if you're a CEO of a company, get on the ball, because people are watching you. You're kind of in the fishbowl. You're setting the tone for the culture of the company. So be aware of that and act accordingly. So cultures are built on what I call commitments to each other within the company. Over time, the culture sets a standard for behavior. So whenever I've been involved in leading a company, or even participating under leadership of others, we establish the commitments that we make to each other in a rather formal way. I'll show you what I mean at the end of this broadcast here. I'll show you a document that we actually wrote down our commitments and signed the darn thing. Well, I'll show you now. It's this. There it is. This was done inside a public company by yours truly for a division of that company. And those individuals that signed it, plus a few more that weren't there to sign it, made these commitments to each other. Let me give you examples of what I mean by this. And these are kind of the elements of what a culture is all about. And keep in mind that they apply to everyone in the company. And the leader of the team or leader of the company makes sure that everybody holds to that premise. So the first one, and one of the most important ones, is that we commit to trust one another. Now, when people are just starting to get to know one another, that's kind of a blind trust. But you take for granted that each person in the company is going to be trustworthy. If anyone ever breaks the trust, then something's going to have to be done about it. Something very serious has to be done about it. Some sort of repair is going to have to occur, or there's going to be a parting of ways, determined by the CEO of the company or the leader of the division within a larger company. So this is unqualified trust in one another. That is a powerful trust each other, as opposed to we doubt each other. Or we want them to prove and earn our trust before they get anything from us. We start with trust. not kind of a novel concept. Maybe seems upside down, but I assure you it works. The team commits to what I call open and non-threatening communications. It's the manner in which we talk to each other. There's no threats, no diminishing in any way of other people. But it's open. We say what we think. We say what we mean. better yet. So if you're committed to that way of speaking to others, it will, over time, further enrich the trust that people have in each other. So this is done in candor, in full honesty, and with integrity, high integrity. Now, in the course of the relationship with people, you got to have a form of committed listening. Let me explain what that means. Committed listening. Some people call it generous listening. That means, quite simply, you don't interrupt people in the middle of their sentences. You shut off all that noise that's going on between your ears when people are talking, trying to come up with some sort of response or rebuttal or something. You shut your brain up and listen. And you listen generously. You're really trying to understand the other person. And you don't respond until they're done. Now, it's not hard to tell when they're done. Some people will actually tell you, that's what I think, boom, and they're done. And then it's your turn to speak. I hate it, quite frankly. I get irate. And it kind of makes me a pain in the ass sometimes, but I hate it when people interrupt me in the middle of a sentence. I'd like to finish my thought, please. I think it's rude. It's something's going on that's not being said if people just have to interrupt each other. So let people finish. You'll be surprised. If you do this, you'll be surprised at how conversations progress quite orderly and quite thoughtfully. It's a great improvement in communications, believe me. So generous listening, committed listening. That's what we often thought of. In the course of the relationship and built on the trust, you make thoughtful commitments to each other. Thoughtful commitments. That means you've thought about it. And if you're making a commitment, you're going to think about, well, can I really do this? Am I overcommitting? Don't do that. Think about it. If you need more time to think about it, say so. Thoughtful commitment. If you thought it through, discussed it even better, back and forth, got a clear understanding of what this commitment means and what it doesn't mean, perhaps to fully bracket this, make the commitment, and then what? Proceed to follow through on it, of course. Don't make a commitment and miss it unless something way out of the ordinary has happened. It prevents you, but guess what you do? You say, look, way before, as soon as you know you're not going to make it, hopefully long before the commitment is due, you approach the person or group of people to whom you made the commitment and say, look, unforeseen things have happened, totally unexpected. Here's what I'm going to do about it. I'm not going to be able to meet the commitment I made to you, but I'm going to recommit this, but in a different form or in a different time frame. And if you do that so that you don't say surprise at the end of your commitment period, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Way earlier gave them some forewarning of it and a way to repair it, you're going to be better off and you're going to be much more respected for doing so. No surprises on not meeting commitments is the message here. So you follow through. Now, another aspect of what goes on within the team is that each member of the team stands for the others. We stand for each other. In other words, you mess with me, you're messing with all of us. Kind of like the gang. hopefully not that violent or anything like that, but the trust you've built, and when something occurs that is trying to throw doubt on someone on the team or some purpose of the team, and one person defends it, we stand by that person. That's trust. That everyone on the team is saying the way it is, and they're showing their honesty and integrity and all those kinds of good characteristics. Standing for one another is an important aspect of a culture. You want a team that stands together. In the military, everybody gets that one. If you're in combat and you got a team of 5 or 6 people in a vehicle and you're on a mission, you all have a job to do and you trust each other to do it. And you're one for all and all for one. And your team members, at least one of them for sure, backs you up. So that's an extreme version of standing for each other. Any good team also, when a member is faced with issues or the team is faced with issues, you work it out together. You're open about it, you communicate, you discuss, you debate, but you come to an agreement and move on. You don't keep it in, you don't hide it, you don't let it be a surprise later. That's kind of not working as a team. I'm forming my words here, I'm sorry, but there are other characteristics, and there's a list of them, and in the interest of time, I want to move on here, but the habits that I've been talking to you about assume the best intentions of everyone. And there are other habits that are kind of important. Things like this, like start meetings on time and end meetings on time, and insist on some way of conducting a meeting so that happens. You make it happen. Be respectful to one another. You'll be amazed at how far you can get in meetings and long discussions and hot discussions if you maintain respect. Geez, I wish our U.S. Congress would do that sometimes. Not sometimes, almost always. I'm tired of watching the news. Be respectful of everyone's time. Use proper language. You don't need to be vulgar. I should talk. I'm kind of vulgar too often. And I shouldn't be. And you don't have to be. You coach each other. Coach each other. And so everyone's a coach. Everyone is able to receive coaching. And that's a way of working together as a team through coaching. If someone breaches kind of the commitments to one another, this thing here, there's a discussion. It often is a discussion of many members of the team, if not the entire team, to resolve this breach. They will happen. They got to be worked out. But you work them out with generous listening and committed talking. So those are the elements of a great culture, one that will serve the company well. And I just reemphasize this culture is nurtured every single hour of the day, led by the leader of the team, the CEO of the company. And again, I stress, without that leadership, a culture will be created, but it may not be one that the CEO intended or even supports. It just happens. In the absence of leadership, people make stuff up. And guess how they figure it out? They watch the CEO certainly they're not with him or her all the time, and they see certain things that are done by that person, and they make up what it means. In the absence of being communicated with by the CEO, they make stuff up, and it probably is going to be dead wrong. So in the absence of leadership, the CEO still sets the culture of the company by their absence of leadership. Now, you don't want that kind of a culture created. You want one that is led by a good, strong leader who knows what they're doing with respect to putting together a culture. And I meant it before that, as soon as you got two people in a company, you're starting to build a culture. It comes out of the leader and grows from there as you go to 4 to 8 to 16 to hundreds of people within the company. That job, that aspect of the job of the CEO never changes. It just gets a little bit more complicated because there are more people involved and more division of labor and things like that, but it's still his or her responsibility. So this is something that's done every day, forever, for the existence of the company, of course. So the companies that have a great culture, quite frankly, are great places to work. I've been in some really great places to work, and I've been in some places that weren't so great, that were kind of pathologic. But it had a company with a great culture has satisfied employees. They love working together. They love their job. And as a result, it's led by probably a pretty darn good person as well. And quite frankly, I don't have the statistics on this. I've read things about this, but I believe that a company with a great culture and a great team that abides by it have a greater chance of success because they're working together to get stuff done and set aside all the private lesser goals that they might have. So that's my viewpoint on culture and the importance of it. I hope that was helpful to you. I'll replay this Facebook Live program in a watch party or two over the next couple of days. I hope it was useful. Again, my name is Bill Warner, and I'm with EntreDot.